Laurie stands, I think it's time for us to have a chat. I predicted in my last video about this trio that Laurie was going to go out on a limb and do something kind of crazy in light of Jacqueline's behavior. And lo and behold, I was right. But let me tell you how I was able to predict this. The real truth here is that you are the company you keep. And unfortunately, if you've made it all the way into your 40s or 50s with the same group of Pickme friends by your side, then chances are you may be a Pickme who's just not willing to admit it, just like Laurie. Laurie reminds me a lot of Miranda from Sex and the City. It's like she is this high-powered, quote-unquote, independent woman who seemingly can be honest with her friends, who seemingly can call out her friends' problematic behavior, especially when it comes to men. She's often sort of on the receiving end of that behavior, and she doesn't really get to do it to her friends. But somehow, every time, even when she has better options, she still doesn't really have high standards for men. She usually ends up with a man who just wants to use her for her money, her status, or whatever power that he perceives she has. But at the end of the day, Laurie clearly has some extreme insecurities and some definite pick-me tendencies that have landed her in almost the same exact kind of hot water as Jacqueline, except for she's on the other side of the equation. She is the mistress, right? Not only that, but the man also tries to extort her for money. Like, it's almost a good thing that his girlfriend kind of ran up on them when she did, because otherwise Laurie could have been in a lot of danger because she was basically being held hostage for money. Like, this man was like, you're not going to leave here until I can extort this money out of you. And really, the only thing that stopped him was his girlfriend coming home. And mind you, too, not only did Laurie make a bad decision, she made an exponentially worse and more dangerous decision than Jacqueline because she was still triggered by her, right? So only a pick-me can be triggered by another pick-me, right? You're not going to go out there and do this if you have a good relationship with yourself or if you have decentered men, right? You're not going to go out there and try to flex on your friend like, oh, look, I can F a random stranger in Thailand too. Like, that's not a flex. Male attention is cheap and abundant. Like, you will never run out of that as a woman, especially as one of these, attractive, rich, middle-aged women. Like, they always think that they're like, quote unquote, too old or too frumpy or whatever, when in reality, men are perfectly willing to sleep with you at any age. I'm so serious. It is not a flex. It's not a flex to F a man. Men will F you even when they're in a relationship with somebody else. Men will F you to then extort money out of you. Men will F you to trap you or try to get you pregnant, try to baby trap you. It is not a flex. So anytime that you think you're going to flex on somebody by sleeping with a man, you lost both the battle and the war. Because men are not a prize. And this is the thing with Mike White, is he's not going to flinch away from the truth. And this is the real truth, I know that a lot of us wanted to believe that Laurie is this full-on baddie and that her friends don't deserve her, etc. But really, she deserves her friend group. So as much as we wanted to believe that this woman was just the exception trapped in an exceptionally bad group of friends, she's really not an exception at all. She really is just like the other two, and the reason they were able to correctly call her out is because they're also projecting. When they say that Laurie is a victim of her circumstances or her decisions, they're only saying that because they know what that's like. Right? They all play victim in their own certain ways, and they're all too stuck in their ways to really even want to change it at this point. The other dangerous thing about being a Laurie in a group full of other pick-me women, because you don't think or realize that you're a pick-me, you are going to put yourself in exponentially more dangerous situations trying to prove that you're a cool girl, which is just a different flavor of a pick-me girl, right? So whereas Jacqueline really falls into her role of the pick-me girl and hypes her friend up to get with someone only to then get with them herself. At least she's making semi-smart decisions, right? She's not leaving the hotel. She's not finding herself in big crowds where she can get robbed or worse. Whereas Laurie, at her ripe age, is now all of a sudden in her I get along better with boys era. I'm gonna go watch the fight with the boys and I'm just one of the boys, not realizing that she'll never be one of the boys to the boys, right? One of them's gonna take advantage of her and then they're all gonna laugh about it, right? It would have been Valentine, Alexei, Dimitri, doesn't matter. She's not winning anything in this situation, right? She just went and had schmecks with a stranger who is clearly like in a relationship. And I think Laurie would have known that because this is the same girl that's confronted him before. So she is really no better than Jacqueline. I mean, I never really blame the home wrecker, quote unquote. I always blame the man. But in a way, this is supposed to like mirror Jacqueline's situation and be like, see, you don't actually have an ethical problem with what Jacqueline did because you were okay with being Valentine in this situation. And of course, the thing that makes this entire dynamic possible is the absolute spinelessness of Kate, who is dead set on keeping the peace to the point where even after she finds out that Jacqueline may have done unethical things with her now husband Dave at Laurie's wedding, she kind of like tries to skate over that and smooth over that because she is a pick-me to the point where she knows she's like the golden child in this situation. Narcissistic people like Jacqueline really like to recreate this dynamic that they probably grew up with in their household of a scapegoat and a golden child. And the person who is the golden child always knows that they're the golden child, like even if it's subconscious. And they will go out of their way and do their best to not upset the narcissist, whom they know is prone to fits of rage against those that displease them, aka their scapegoats, right? They always make sure that they're surrounded by people that stand maybe to gain something from them, or that they know they can sort of trigger, just like she knows she can do to Laurie. And that is really what we call a narcissist supply. That is really the thing that a narcissist can't live without. And so they always surround themselves with this dynamic. But like I said, at these women's grown age, you need to start figuring these things out and you need to start sort of getting better at clocking friends like this so that you can avoid these dynamics, because long term, this is going to do nothing good for you. It's going to put you in your pick-me energy, just like we see with Laurie, and you're going to end up making bad decisions just to impress someone whose opinion you really shouldn't even care about because they are so insecure themselves. So yeah, the real moral of the story and the PSA here is that if you find yourself planning and plotting to use a man to get back at a woman friend of yours, you are in your pick-me energy and you need to get away from that friend. If you are about to do something rash and stupid for a man's attention, just always please consider, why are you doing that? Is it really that important to you? And what does that say about your identity? And what does that say about whom you really center in your life, right? Because even if this was about a friendship dynamic and Laurie was really upset with this rift between her and Jacqueline, or she was confused by Jacqueline's actions, she would have doubled down on trying to stay and work it out with Jacqueline rather than doing the exact thing that a narcissist would want you to do as the scapegoat and go out there and make a terrible decision that now the narcissist is going to probably come out on top of the situation because they probably have the money or the resources or something else to like sort of diffuse it and make your problems go away. This is why Jacqueline keeps people like Laurie around. So you should never be confused. Just because somebody acts like a girl boss or like a cool girl or whatever, that does not mean that they have decentered men. And that does not mean that they have centered themselves in their life, right? They may still be centering male attention, even via their close friendship connections, even via other women, as we really see with all three of these women. The real currency between them is like male attention. And so this is really just a group of panicked pick-me's that are aging out of the male gaze. And Laurie is not excluded from that. Be careful out there, ladies. Be careful who you're friends with. Know that you really are the company you keep. I love you so much. Godspeed.